Hi, it's Linda. Welcome back to the Daily Dose, where we talk about the energy that's moving through all of us right now and make it useful for real life. No fancy language, just plain talk and real life. In our last chat, we met Miss Cranky Pants and her constant mental pressure of the she always has an answer energy. Today, we look at what the she always has an answer energy looks like when it's working in everyday life. Understanding is not the same as having an immediate answer. This is important, so I'm repeating it. Understanding is not the same as having an immediate answer. When you have access to this she always has an answer energy, you have a remarkably strong capacity for logical thinking. You can take a question, a problem, a messy situation, and work it through in a way that produces real clarity. That's your gift. But in everyday life, this means learning the difference between an answer that's ready and an answer that just feels urgent. Yesterday, in the Cranky Pants episode of She Always Has an Answer, I shared a story about answering too quickly in the classroom and how I ended up hurting a student, which deeply hurt me too. As a parent, I had to learn that same lesson, waiting with an insight until I felt the moment was right, instead of my typical habit of just giving a quick answer. When my 3 boys were little, I was often parenting alone while their dad was off working or doing other things. And I was a stay-at-home mom at the time. And there were so many days when it was just me and the boys. I made up my mind that we were going to go do things rather than putting everything on hold until their father was able to join in. So we were often out doing things with other families. And kids notice things. One day, one of the boys asked why their daddy never came along. Why their daddy wasn't there like the other daddies were. I'm not going to pretend. My husband and I had many fights about this. That's a conversation for another day, but I share this bit for context. My emotions were hot about this subject. So when my son asked me why Daddy wasn't with us when we went on the canoe trip, believe me, I had a ready answer. But it wasn't a good one, because it would have hurt my children. So I took a breath. I waited a beat or two. I felt that damn pressure to answer, but I waited it out. And I answered, life is full of choices. Maybe someday when you're a daddy, you might make different choices. It may not have been the most perfect answer, but it was far better than the one I nearly fired off. I may not have agreed with my husband's decisions, but I wasn't going to badmouth him to our boys. And years later, my 2 sons who have children of their own have definitely made different choices in their role as a dad. The insights you carry aren't just for you. They're meant to be shared, yes, but they need to be shared at the right moment. When you have the right information. When the idea has had time to develop. When you're offering something that's been carefully thought through, rather than something that just fills the silence. This doesn't mean going quiet or holding everything back. It means getting curious about whether the answer you have is complete before you hand it over. Asking one more question. Sitting with the uncertainty a little longer than feels comfortable. The mental pressure is real, and it isn't going away. But in everyday life, this is about learning to work with it rather than letting it run the show. The right answers come to you when they're needed. That's worth trusting. In our next chat, we meet She Always Has an Answer at her best self, the fullest expression of this energy. I wouldn't miss it. I sure hope you don't. Thank you for being here. Find your happy, love what you do, make a difference, and come on back to me safely. See ya!